Good. All right. We'll go ahead and get started with the City Council Community Planning and Transportation Committee for Thursday, May 28th, 2026. Welcome everybody here in person and watching at home. We have 5 items on the agenda this afternoon. The first one is monthly update or so on the project updates and discussion of the Access Oklahoma East-West Corridor. So we've been, for several months now, been having a regular update on anything, any news, anything related to the Turnpike in Norman City Limits. So staff is here to lead us off.
Yeah, thank you for having us back. And Trent came back today to talk to us again and share some information you guys asked for last week. This time I put together a PowerPoint, not knowing how we're going to do this, so he's going to try to do it from my PowerPoint here, I think,
yeah,
with his notes.
Thanks again for letting me come down and give an update on this. I appreciate the opportunity. As it shows here from the segment from I-44 to I-35, ongoing work, ongoing field work. There's still some design that we're going through, still working through some right-of-way acquisitions and starting to get into the utility relocation part of it, really. Working specifically, the more effluent line is been awarded. And they have started this project itself. We're constructing dual 36-inch force mains from the outfall just west of Penn, heading east approximately 4 miles to the City of Moore's water treatment plant. They plan to start to the west end and work their way east towards the wastewater treatment plant. So that's one of the bigger utilities that we need to relocate to do some of the construction for the Turnpike itself. Construction updates with the current construction that we have ongoing. We have the mainline Turnpike bridges over the Canadian River. We started this back in February, and they're currently constructing the drill shafts. They've started doing the piers and the pier caps, as you can see. They're really focusing by the contract on the westbound direction. That's the first bridge that in the contract that we've asked them to get open. They've completed everything on the west side of the river. They've jumped over to the east side of the river and started doing those piers and those drill shafts on that side as well. And so that's what you're seeing there in that picture. The other contract that's going on is the bridge over 10 Mile Flats. That project began this spring. They are, let's see if I got anything different. Again, they're working on the drill shafts and the columns and the piers, trying to get above ground. Those actually, you can see on that picture a little bit how close to the ground some of those piers are. But it still needed to be a bridge due to some of the flooding that occurs in that area. One other little project we had there was to drain and backfill a pond between Western and Santa Fe. That project is completed. It was where an old borrow pit to make some bricks were. We had to fill that in as part of the construction. Let's see, I-44. Yep. So on the interchange, that will be one of the next projects that you'll see is at the I-44 interchange with the Turnpike, the Toby Key East-West Connector. We look to get that open for bids this summer, award it in July, and then construction will start this fall. That project's going to be broke up into 3 different projects. This first project is really the minimal connections to get people from I-44 onto the Turnpike and across I-35.
And that,
Yes, sir.
that previous slide, is that the entire width of the project?
Yes.
Represented on that top? That's
Yes. That's the width of the project. Yes, sir. Some other upcoming projects. I should have Scott do all my PowerPoints. Is we have an interchange project there at Western. The final construction plans are scheduled to be delivered this summer with a bid opening in August, and with construction will start later this year. The mainline bridges over Santa Fe. Again, we're letting projects to bid this in September. It will more than likely probably start later at the first of the year of 2027. The project between Santa Fe and Telephone Road, that's going to be the grading, and the paving in that area. It also includes the, City of Norman project on 36th Avenue.
Scott, would you mind moving that chair over? Yeah, or someone.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Councilmember Kirby.
A couple's back where you had the pitters and everything's going in, that would be more in the orange.
Correct.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes,
So
sir.
here,
Yeah.
pretty quick, you're gonna almost triple the width of what you're running right now?
Tripled the width of our footprint.
Yeah,
The
No.
length, not the
The
width.
length, not the width. It won't get any wider.
so you'll be able to get all 3 lanes and the easements in that footprint you already,
Yes, sir. It'll be very similar to that footprint. Because we're on the south side, we're staying within the north of Indian Hills. We're within the statutory right of way, so we're not going any further south than Indian Hills. And then the frontage roads to the north are, Colin, I don't know, I'd hate to give a number, how far north those are, that footprint.
We've always estimated about 600 feet
Yeah.
for the total width of that.
So it'll be roughly about the same. Not too, it's probably I would say, let me take that back. I would say the bridges are just a little bit more narrower. The roadway footprint's just a little bit wider, not much wider than the bridges though.
is Indian Hills running under it? Like, are you?
No, Indian Hills will be the eastbound frontage road. And then we'll build another frontage road on the north side, which will be the westbound frontage road. So we'll be reconstructing Indian Hills between,
Pretty
yeah,
much
between
60th.
60th, yeah.
to 48th
Yeah, to 60th.
northeast. So that whole distance, but it will shift to the south side of Indian Hills once you get across I-35. It'll make a shift to the
But we'll
south.
still be able to cross Indian Hills for
Mhm.
free without having to.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So at each of these interchanges, here, yeah, we'll keep these open and you'll be able to cross those. There's no toll. So there'll be no toll on the city street, no toll on the frontage road. It's just when you get on the main line portion of the turnpike.
And the frontage roads would go across I-35
Yes, sir.
continuously,
Yes, sir.
and those would remain free
Yes, toll
city
free.
streets.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. As I said, we're coordinating with the city of Norman on their design to incorporate the 36th Avenue Northwest Widening Project. So it'll be part of that 303A project between Santa Fe and 48, between Santa Fe and Telephone Road. That'll be again in September. We're looking to put that out to bed in September. We'll get an award in August, and then you'll see construction start on that probably first of next year.
Councilmember Grant?
In alignment with 36 Northwest Phase 2, is there discussions with property owners along that area? Will any of the work that's gonna happen there be on any part of their property? Or is it just city easements?
No, we've already have all the easements for that project, so we already have all that already secured. We are currently working on a NEPA study for the entirety of our 36 project. This section is included in that. As part of that, there will be a public meeting that has to be held. We'll probably ask OTA to be there and we'll direct any questions regarding their work to them. But there will be some public information out there. And I would imagine that when the project gets closer to start, we will definitely be putting out some information, some press releases. I would be shocked if there weren't some message boards out there, but that's not really gonna be up to us. But we'll be working with the property owners so that they know what's going on. And the plan for now is maybe except for a small portion, there will always be access. But when we build the bridge across on the south end of the project, you can't really build that bridge one at a time. We'll probably have to close it for a short frame to get that bridge structure put in. But there'll always be access to all the homes through that entire corridor.
And on the NEPA study, the public comment portion, is there an ETA on when that might happen?
We have submitted our first submittal of the information to the FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration. Sorry, NEPA is just the environmental study that we have to do. I know we're throwing out a lot of acronyms and try to not do that too much. So we expect that we could hear something within 30 to 45 days about their decision-making. And at that point, we would schedule a meeting, but I can't guarantee that time frame. It could be 90 days, I don't know. Part of it depends on what their determination is regarding if we have to do additional work or not, but we think the work that we've submitted to date may suffice because we did a NEPA study on the 36th Avenue up to Indian Hills Road previously, and we were set up for a finding of no significant impact. And at that point, all we needed was the final public participation part of it. And because that project did not get funded, it never progressed past that. So we have a previous finding that was set, and this one's just kind of verifying.
Building on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then extending it to the north, all the way to 34th Street and more.
Okay, well, that's good to know that because I think the original plan for it didn't have quite the same infrastructure under, that you have all the easements you need and that the NEPA study and everything associated with that is on track. So thank you.
Yeah, well, before the construction starts, that's usually a plan note in there that we have the contractor put message boards out there saying, hey, construction plans to begin on this date. We try to stay in constant communication with property owners and in that area to make sure that they know what's going on. And if there's any significant changes that are gonna be in that traffic control, we'll for sure make sure that we can get a hold of people and let them know. Our comms team does a really good job of sending that notification out. I'm sure we can work with y'all's comms team to, have that same message that we send out to the public.
I didn't really have anything on the rest of it. That's really all I had on the
Okay.
Turnpike update
Yeah.
portion.
And then the last project I don't think I hit on was the mainline bridges over 36th Avenue that's looking to let later this fall. So there's going to be a lot of work going on between I-44 and I-35 until for a while. We're trying to get that minimum connection open, get traffic going from I-44 to I-35 by the end of 2027. And so there'll be some traffic on there, but there will also still be work going on for quite some time. This doesn't include, none of these projects that I've talked about include anything within the interchange specifically. There is some of the work on, I think, the mainline bridges. We're gonna try to incorporate some of the earthwork for the interchange into some of that because it does get pretty tight in that area. So if we can incorporate some of that earthwork that we need to do for the interchange within one of these projects, we're trying to figure out that's what we're gonna do. One thing that we did last night with ODOT, in conjunction with ODOT, we had a public meeting to talk about they have a project where they are converting the frontage roads. This is really more and more from 19th south. They're converting those frontage roads to one-way. They're also taking out what we call button hook ramps there at 19th. So on the south side of 19th, you have these ramps that they kind of make a hook and you got to stop because traffic's two-way. We call those button hook ramps. So they're taking out those button hook ramps and they are putting in new ramps. They're not going to be diamond. They're called X ramps. So you will get off. So if you're going northbound and you want to get to 19th, you'll have to get off a little bit further back than a normal diamond configuration. And then if you're on that frontage road, you would get back onto I-35 before 19th Street. I'll bring a picture of that next time. Or you can look on ODOT's website from that public meeting last night to kind of describe that. But we worked in conjunction with them to have that meeting to talk about their project because their project is embedded in part of our project as well to convert those frontage roads to one-way and have continuous frontage roads through the interchange and as you continue south to Franklin. So we had that. We had a stakeholder meeting from noon to 2, and then from 4 to 8:30, that was the public meeting part. There were a lot of people that came to that public meeting, so I thought it went really well and got a lot of comments on that. Yeah.
You're changing all the frontage roads to one-way, so like people who shoot in and jump over to Cook's Feed and Seed and grab what they need and just jump right back out are now gonna have to shoot down and around like 4 miles extra? Is that what I'm hearing?
Not necessarily 4 miles extra, so Cooks Feed's just north of Indian Hills, correct? In this area here,
Yeah.
right here. And
A
so,
mile down, a
so
mile
what
back,
you'll
a
have to
mile
do,
back.
what you'll have to do is you'll go up, and at 19th Street, I did not mention that, they're putting
Yeah.
a protected turnaround bridge in, so you don't have to go through the signal, so you're not touching any signals, you go right, you go through the turnaround, and then you get right back on, cause the on-ramp is, do you remember where that
Are
on-ramp
you
is?
impacting any of the
On
businesses like
I-35,
Mooney's
yeah.
or?
So, yeah, so these,
What?
I think they're taking Moody's.
yeah, so these businesses right in here, yes, we are impacting with the interchange project. So,
We can get you more information on those.
I'm
frontage
definitely
roads.
gonna need more information. When y'all have the public meetings, is it just for fun, or do you actually take any of the advice from the people who show up and express their concerns that have lived here for
yeah, that's
the
the,
lives that you're affecting? I
Yeah.
mean, do you actually listen
Yes,
when
sir.
people speak? Because, I mean, it's already bad enough you're doing the east-west, and it's already bad your north-south's likely to come through my house. But now you're taking and changing the frontage roads when gas is $5 a gallon for farmers who are coming in and struggling after you've already taken their land. So I'm shaking mad right now because I just, do y'all even care about the
Well, that-
lives that you're about to take? I mean, how much of this is done through eminent domain on just the section y'all's doing right this section, right? Just from I-40 to I-35, how many eminent domain
So-
properties did you do?
So I don't know about eminent domain. I don't have that number with me today, but what I have for the east-west connector is currently we've closed on a total of 86 parcels. And we're working on 105 parcels along, negotiating, working with, on 105 different parcels on the east-west connector.
Just on the east-west?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I will say that the frontage roads go into one way. We did a joint study with ODOT, Moore, and the county. And that was a suggestion that came out of that project completely, just because it's getting so compacted and impacted in that area, that was actually the recommendation. All of the recommendations were to go to a one-way from Moore all the way down through to
I
most of the
still
way
don't
through
get
Norman.
how y'all's going through a lot of these fields that have killdeers, killdeer birds that are protected, and they have horny toads. I mean, my brother broke his leg in that field right there that you're about to run through when we were hauling hay. So I literally grew up seeing the wildlife there, and I'm just, you know, you just,
And for
I
that
can't
east,
stop it, and I get that, or I would. There's nothing I like about y'all guys. And I get what you're doing your job. So sorry, I'm frustrated with you.
it's okay.
Just every time we turn around, you're just taking a little bit more and taking a little bit more. I was just walking to my pasture today and dug up a rose rock, and you're about to come through and rip up one of the million-year-old rose rock vein for a road that has little to no importance.
So on the east, on the interchange at I-35.
Yes, sir.
As it goes east,
Mhm.
it will go over the railroad tracks.
Yes, sir. So,
Indian Hill Road, both the frontage roads
Yes,
and
sir.
the highway would go over
Yes, sir.
tracks, completely separated.
yes, sir, completely
And
separated.
then a period of time, it just ends, truncates for a while until
The frontage
the
road,
next phase, the whole thing until the next phase of. So like this being the first phase of the project.
Yeah, okay,
I-44 to
I see.
I-35.
I got you.
And then the second
yeah, I got you,
planned
I got
phase
you.
being further east.
Yes,
But
so,
like when this interchange is done, it would just have a truncated eastern end until the rest of it's built, or what, how's that gonna work?
yeah, so there will be a period of time that, you will not be able to continue east.
It'll make you go north or south at that point at I-35.
Yes.
You'll have to get on
You'll-
I-35.
You'll have to get on
Or the
I-35
frontage road.
or the frontage road, yeah, you have to get on I-35 or the frontage road to go north or south. But in between that time, we'll be working on that east side, as you said, to go over the railroad, to go over that floodplain, and then tie into 24th, that's right there to the east. We'll be working on that continually, while there will be some work going on in the interchange still. but we will have some minimum connections that you will be able to go north-south to get on I-35 or onto the frontage roads.
And is there a timeline for, I guess, what I would call that second phase of east of the railroad
Yeah,
tracks?
so our goal to get traffic open is by 2030. By 2030 to get it to I-40. And we have projects that we plan to let later this.
2030 to get it from I-35 right there to I-40 connection.
Yes, sir.
By 2030.
By 2030. And so we have some projects on the very, probably north and east end where it connects closer to I-40 that we plan on letting, or we're looking at the possibility of letting later this year. And so we will be working from both directions to meet in the middle. When I mentioned those parcels that we've closed on 86 parcels, and we're actively negotiating and working with landowners on 105 parcels. That doesn't include the portion where the south extension ties in there. Since we relocated that alignment over there, we just have preliminary plans. We don't have the 60% plans that we go negotiate right away and purchase right away with. So I don't have those numbers yet because we haven't quite identified all the property owners yet. So there will be more to the active 105 parcels and closing on that 86.
So north-south is a ways.
North-south, so I can give a quick update on the north-south extension, or the south extension. We do have survey crews out there that are performing the field work along the entire corridor. So they're tying in corners and things like that to do the survey. And then the engineers are progressing with the plans from functional plans to 60% plans. So which will help us identify all of the properties that we will be working with for that corridor from a right-of-way standpoint. And then let's see. And so we're still within that timeline when we talked about when we would be reaching out to landowners along that south extension area from that 12th to 18th month when we had those public meetings last spring. We're still right within that corridor like we said we would be. We're actively working with 39 parcels along the south extension. We've recognized, or we've pulled some of those out because they are going to be total acquisitions. And so we're proactively getting out in front of them and working with them, 39 parcels on that south extension on purchasing those.
Our total, or there's 39 total acquisitions, or
Yes.
as in taking the entire property?
Yeah, as having to purchase the entire parcel. Yes, sir. So there's still a lot more that once we get those 60% plans that will identify more, there will be more parcels than those. But based on the alignment that we have and those functional plans that our designers and engineers developed, there were 39 that we are engaging now, so they're not having to wait.
Councilmember Green?
So when you get your 60% plans and can identify the other parcels, those shouldn't be total acquisitions, those should be partial?
It's going to be a mix. There's still some of them that we are not 100% sure that they're going to be total takes, but a majority of those are will be partials. So there will still be some total takes in those.
And has city staff or OTA, have you identified any additional city infrastructure, like what we saw with the wells, that are impacted by the proposed routes,
Well,
and also any other street? I know there's not another situation like 36th Avenue, but
no, there's nothing to that extent. I think that there may still be a well or two out there that may be impacted. We're still addressing that. We're waiting to see what the final footprint actually looks like. And then we'll work, Chris and the utilities department will work with the OTA on those. As far as road goes, we don't have any roadway projects out in that area that these will be impacting. So I don't anticipate anything like what we've had. Obviously, 36 was really unusual, so.
Councilmember Grant?
I know we fixed the maps to reflect the new alignment in our AIM plan. Do we also update the transportation side to reflect that?
I think so,
The master
I
plan?
think it was all of them.
probably so, yes.
Not just the map though, but kind of what the idea, it's 48th, right? If memory serves.
Between 48th and 60th.
Okay. Just curious, because I thought there were some street widenings planned around that area and whatnot.
Well, I think that the road, the things that we were looking at doing with the roads before, I think that would still be valid. I don't know that it would really change anything. For example, 48th is supposed to become more like a boulevard street, more of a real north-south connector. I think that would continue to be the case. There really wasn't much past that. In fact, most of the roadways stayed about the same classification, or maybe bumped from a rural arterial to rural collector, or the other way. Some of them actually went down. So I don't think that the relocation or the new turnpike alignment would really impact the roadway classifications that we have in that area at this
In
point
the master plan.
in the master plan.
And,
Thank you.
and we don't have any currently designed, budgeted, or voter-approved projects to widen 48th or 36 for that matter,
Correct.
other than Cedar Lane and 36, but
Yeah, no, you're correct.
that intersection. But we don't have any projects for 48th, for Franklin, for Indian Hill Road. None of those out there.
I mean, the only thing that we have is the road maintenance on that section of Franklin. And we picked that totally without consideration of the turnpike.
That's just
a road that you
resurfacing.
resurfacing
existing
of part of the
two
rural
lanes.
road. It's just in really bad shape, needs a little attention.
Okay. Councilor Gansberg?
Yeah, you talked about, 39 total acquisitions so far over there on properties and stuff, and mentioned that there's some others that may or may not, most be partial, some might be total and everything like that. Do we have rough count of how many different parcels that is, or different properties that might be, that rough count that we're looking at all
On the
together?
south extension? No, we don't quite have that yet, because we don't have those 60% set of plans. Once we get that 60% set of plans, we'll have a really good idea of what that number will be. So I'd hate to give you a number now, and it not be accurate. Councilwoman, you did ask me last time, about, parcel numbers, and I wanted to, I'm gonna share that again. On the east-west connector, we have currently closed or acquired 86 total parcels. And we're actively working on 105 parcels for the entire east-west connector from I-44 to I-40. There is that section in there where the south extension, where we relocated the south extension, that we don't have a 60% set of plans. So I don't know the right-of-way numbers for that area, so there would be more to add to that number, but I did want to share those with you.
Thank you.
That you asked for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and I'm sorry, and on the south extension project, we have verified that we're actively working with 39 parcels on the south extension. They are gonna be full acquisitions, total takes of their properties. So we're working with them, trying to work with them to give them enough time to work with, if they want to get a different appraisal, they need to find a replacement property. So really giving them that time to try to figure out what their next steps are.
Is that 39 from I-35 to the east-west connector?
Yeah, it's gonna be from I-35, it'll be from I-35 to,
Yeah, Purcell. So from Purcell
Yeah.
all the way through to
Yeah.
the
That's-
east-west, or Toby Keith.
that's what we've have found on that corridor.
And whenever you say giving them that time, how much time is that?
I mean, we're not looking to start construction, for those people on that south extension for a while. So we still have a couple years before we plan on starting construction, on the south extension.
Do you know how many of those 39
No, because they're all scattered along the entire corridor there.
knowing how many Norman properties?
That would be pretty important.
Yeah. I can
Next time, so. Councilor Gansberry?
Also, do y'all y'all have to make a list of, like, every acquisition you take, you have to make a list of, okay, this is the property that we did and this was the exit cost of that property and everything like that or anything?
Do we keep that? Yeah, we keep all that data, yeah.
Do you share that with, like, if there's any city that wanted that information for themselves and everything like that about exactly what properties and what the acquisition cost was?
I don't know that we've ever been asked for a city from it. There have been open records requests for that. Yeah, I don't know about a local entity asking
I'd
for
like to
those.
see, Holman, that if it's an open record request, that somebody maybe do that just for full transparency for, everybody in town on, for us.
And-
Knowing that everybody's getting a fair shake and,
Well, yeah,
stuff.
Councilor Bruce?
personally, if I'm negotiating with you, I'm gonna have you sign a non-disclosure agreement what I got for my property.
For sure, and that's the thing that we'll do if it becomes an open records request is we'll take out any personal information on that because we have to take out that personal information. And there have been some that have said, yeah, I don't want this being put out. So it would be probably a little, I don't want to say touch and go, but we'd really have to dig into that to see how we could get that information.
Not even the actual cost
I think we could probably get you
cost without person being attached to it.
Yeah, we could probably get you costs without a person being attached to it or a parcel. But yeah, I
Yeah,
think
you can't isolate down to parcel. I mean, if I sign a non-disclosure agreement.
100%, yes, sir. Yeah. So that would be something that we'll talk about and discuss what's the best way to get that information. Cause I think I see what you're asking for, kind of based on parcel size and, what was there a
Also,
house,
did-
was there a house on it?
Well, and also I'm looking at the fact that the parcels that you're talking about, the line there and everything like that, 3 different towns, is one town getting a fair shake compared to other towns maybe, but you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, was people given a true return on investment on their property and everything like that,
Okay.
that somebody down the line in Noble wasn't having to take a big cut and a loss
Oh, okay. I see
because
what you're
somebody in
saying.
Norman needed more even, and everything, that everybody got a fair offer,
Okay.
fair shake.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Let me go back and see what we can figure out how to get some of that information.
Just so I know.
There's no fair shake.
I
on
know
something that ain't
there
for
ain't,
sale.
but I'm trying to find out the most I can.
Being that all this is country, I mean, you got a little bit actually going through town, but I would say the majority of it on the 10-mile flats and then again over on the north-south. Will y'all be putting up like 10-foot fence all the way down that son of the gun to make sure wildlife, farm animals, all that don't get up on the interstate? Because I know with Oklahoma law, if my calf gets out and runs up on your turnpike and a car hits it, I get sued. It's not y'all. So are y'all gonna be protecting every last farm down these interstates and
Yeah.
make sure none of them animals can get on your turnpike?
Yes, sir. We put up a fence. Yeah, we put up access fences along the turnpike to make sure that the animals cannot get across there. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, we put up the access fence.
Councilor Bruce?
Appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir.
So from 35 going west, I'm under the belief that no one's home under eminent domain was taken. And then there's no property under eminent domain that's taken from I-35 east.
I think that would be correct.
West.
West, sorry, excuse me, west.
So
I think when talk property, it's different.
I thought there were 6 properties that got took by.
There were no homes in that area.
Those
correct.
property.
There were no homes. Yes, there were no homes. There were some properties that we've had to go through the condemnation process. Some of those we negotiated out of, and we didn't have to go through the entire process, right? A couple of them were they wanted to get the commissioner's award, what the commissioners thought, to then we would start negotiating. There was a parcel right next to the river that had didn't have a clear title, and so we had to go through the condemnation process to be able to get clear title on that piece. But you're correct in that there weren't any homes that were purchased through condemnation, but we did have to take some of these parcels of property of land through that condemnation process.
And
On that side.
some people just ask that they will just say, we just want to go straight to that
Yeah,
process.
and we had a couple of those that's what they wanted to do. And so we've done that, and I honestly think we're actively negotiating with them based on the number they got from the commissioner.
So again, just so that process would be, it's identified through the plans, what's needed, and then that's looked at, and then it's appraised. That appraiser, and it's a licensed appraiser, that's reviewed by a second appraiser. That number can go up or down, I've seen both. Usually they pretty much just agree. That's based on comparative sales, and that's usually their main basis. And then after that, if you can't reach agreement, then that goes to the condemnation process. And then that's three commissioners are chosen. Both parties have to agree on the three. So us as a city couldn't go get three we like. The other side can say, no, we want someone that, you know, so it's a joint deal. And then they come out, they visit the site, they talk to both parties typically, and then they make a declaration of what they think the fair value is, and it can go up or down from that appraisal. We've seen both on our projects. And then that's usually you start kind of a renegotiation, but at that point, I'm speaking as a city here, not as the Turnpike Authority. We can go and put that amount that the commissioners have awarded, we can go put that in court, and then we have access to the property, but that property owner can choose to go to a jury trial if they so choose.
Correct.
So it's a long process with a lot of steps that are put in place.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, during that entire process, the OTA is negotiating with that landowner the entire time. So from when we first give them that appraisal with their fair market value of whatever that dollar amount may be that appraiser came up with, they send us a number, what they think, and then we counter. So there's a bunch of back and forth with those before we want to get to that condemnation point. And the reason why we may go to condemnation is, say, as our projects have that schedule of, we're trying to get one to go to bid at the end of the year, right? So we have that schedule, we have that built-in time that it takes to move utilities, and then there's that built-in time to buy right-of-way. Well, if we're pushing up close to that time where we need to move utilities to clear for construction to get it to that letting, that's when it may trigger that condemnation. Are we still negotiating with that landowner during that entire time? Yeah, we're negotiating that entire time with them on that, so.
Just one other quick question. Are we talking a handful of properties, 5 or less?
That went to
No,
condemnation.
that are still remaining open from 35 going west? I thought it was all done, but
No, we still have a handful that we're trying to negotiate, or they're in the condemnation process. Yeah, there's just a handful of them. And maybe even some of those, we may have right of entry, so we could go ahead and start the project. We may not have come to dollar amount that we both agree upon, but we could have that right of entry to be able to start the project. But there's just a handful between I-44 and I-35 that we don't have secured. Just a handful.
Okay, Councilmember Balacha?
I apologize if somebody's already asked
No, it's
this.
okay.
You mentioned appraisers, and more than one appraisal being done. Who is choosing the appraisers?
So we have a group, there's a group of appraisers that we use across the state. And so
But the homeowner doesn't get to pick an appraiser?
they can go get their own appraisal if they would
Do you
like to.
still pay for that?
That would be something that they would just, when they, in the negotiation, say, hey, I went and got this appraisal, I would like to include this in the cost to get paid back for. So that would be something that we could negotiate and reimburse them for that, yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Creighton?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does the city help with any of these negotiations? Like, do you show up and help with any of the negotiations with any of the, are we involved as a city in any way, shape, or form in anything?
No, sir.
None of these land acquisitions, nothing? We don't, because a minute ago you said, if we pick the appraisers, so that caught me off
On our
guard.
projects.
Okay.
So
on
for
our
example,
projects.
36 Northwest, we went through the same process they're using. It's basically the identified process federally of how to do it.
Okay.
And we use the same thing. No, on our projects.
Okay.
On Lindsay Street, we're going, you approved 18, I don't know, easements on Lindsay Street Tuesday night. We went through the same process to get those easements on Lindsay Street. And we're still going through that with more property owners. So that's that's on our side. I'm not, that's why I said, I'm speaking as the city.
The owner wanted it. They requested that, the ones on Lindsay, the ones you're going through. that
No,
we
we're
approved.
we're going through the whole process just like we've gone out there. If it's over $10,000, we've done an appraisal on it. And we base that on we hire acquisition agents really to act on our behalf. That also ensures it's being done correctly and following the correct rules. We're not tweaking or twisting. I know that the OTA's hired a bunch of them. We use some of the same people. There's only a number of them in the state.
And then I want to rewind, wait, I don't like talking about the north-south to begin with, but you said, were you talking about the 48th on this side becoming more of a corridor, whatever you called it earlier, like you're changing the road, or were you talking about the other side
The
by
east side.
Washington?
The east side has always been a road that was identified even in the previous
But I mean, are y'all
transportation
planning on
plan.
going down through there and putting like a median in it and,
That's kind of one of the designs that are being looked at this point. That was always considered, that was kind of going to be the,
is that being
That'd be like
rushed
the last
because
of
of
your
this
development.
turnpike project?
no, that was in the previous transportation planning documents that we have. So that's longstanding. It even shows up that way in some of the regional planning. Before the turnpike was even there.
Yeah, like I said, we have no
There's no plans, yeah.
plans, no budget, and no voter-approved plans. And 13 million a mile or so, I don't foresee us widening 48th Avenue
Yeah, that's just,
in any of our lifetimes in this room, so. Unless something drastically changes. That's different. Any other questions, OTA related? Okay, we'll be back, another update next month.
yeah, it'll probably just be me for a while, because we're probably gonna be in very similar places, so it'll probably be me
We'll be
bringing.
back at we won't have a meeting in July, so
Yeah.
after next month, it won't be until the end of August, the
Yeah.
next update, so there might be more then.
Oh, yeah, we'll have more then, and we can bring updated numbers on where we're at with the right-of-way
And
acquisition portion of
feel
it.
free to ask staff any questions.
Will you
anytime
add
if you
how
have
many businesses y'all have taken on the path?
Yeah,
Today.
yes, sir, I'll make sure and get that, yes, sir.
And we are getting a monthly update the Thursday before this meeting directly from the OTA. So we're getting our information that I'll be sharing with you directly from them. So I may not get to the right-of-way information just because I think that's a little bit more touchy, but I'll be bringing you construction updates and project updates every month.
Okay. All right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Trent.
Appreciate the update. All right, we'll move on to item number 2 is a presentation update on the 2023 Bridge Bond Program. And see where we're at, which ones we've completed, which ones are underway, and how we're.
And I'm probably gonna flow straight into the Gray Street, if you don't mind. I just did one presentation instead of a whole bunch of little ones. So quick project updates here. So we're gonna talk about the bridge bond and go straight into the Gray Street. This is the list of the projects that were identified in the bridge bond. As you can see, we've completed the 24 and 25 projects. The 26 projects, one is out to bid. The other one is the Franklin Bridge just west of 36 Northeast. We're working on right-of-way right now and completing that design. So we'll have both of those underway this year and probably pretty well completed. The replacement may take just a little bit longer. So as you can see, out of the 18, 4 are complete. And then we have several that are under design. We also have the North Porter Avenue, which is the half-mile long bridge that's going to go over the top of the floodplain where it gets about 2 foot deep in a good flood. That is well under design and right away. That's the project. That's the $15 million project. That's the one we secured absentee Shawnee tribe
Great partnership.
funding through them for about 13 million of that. So that's really going to help this whole bridge program. We're going to be able to expand a lot and probably be coming and either looking, do you remember those ones at the end of the list? We want to make sure that we have these identified, starting to bring those up or requesting to add bridges to the program later. So that's great. We're going to continue to look for those partnerships and ways to get these bridges funded. Then we're also under design on 24th Avenue Northeast And we're at the point, we're ready to start moving down this list to start getting design started on some of the others. We want to make sure that we're always out ahead, getting the designs completed, and that that's not going to be a reason why we're held up, that we're identifying any right-of-way needs that we may have so we can get out and we can get those done. Our utility relocations, typically when we call now, we get it'll be 9 to 12 months before we can get to you. And that usually puts us in a real bind on all of our projects. So we're trying to make sure that we're out ahead. We want to make sure that we meet our schedule. And so far, we have been able to do that. And we're very pleased with the progress and the way this program's going.
So we got 4 that are finished.
Yes, sir.
And then there aren't any that are currently under construction, but there are
Correct.
4 that are almost there.
Right, well, 24th Southwest, this is the one over Merkle Creek. That one is actually out to bid right now. We're just waiting for our bids to come in. You'll probably see an award coming up on that in the next month and a half. So we'll be starting another one quickly on that one. So that is just kind of a major repair. It's not a complete redo. We'll be redoing wing walls and fixing some problems around the bridge, making sure it's structurally sound and making sure it meets all the requirements that we need it to meet for safety and for drainage.
Councilor Kirby?
2026 Franklin Road replacement, can you tell me the miles? Which area that's being replaced? I know right above it you said the bridge, but
It's just the bridge.
only the bridge?
Yes, sir.
So each one's a bridge?
We call it the Toby Keith Bridge because it's the one right there north of his property, on the north side of his property. It's that bridge.
But on the next one down, the 115,000 one, is that the same exact area again?
No, that one is
That's-
further to the east. That's another, there's 2
There's another
bridges
one
on
down the
Franklin.
road, right?
Yeah, that's, if you think about it, that's where the little river's weaving
Yeah,
back and forth across Franklin until
Are
it
you
gets to the
doing
lake.
anything to Franklin itself in between those bridges?
No, not with, this is a bridge program only, so this is just fixing the bridge structures themselves
Okay.
and making sure that we're meeting the safety and load requirements and making sure that the drainage works properly through these areas. I would love to come back through and see a future project to get that up out of the floodplain where it doesn't flood, but that is not a part of this project.
Okay. Councilor Grant?
Just a quick question. So have the projects pretty much come in at the estimated costs, or have there been savings or overages?
We've had a little up and a little down.
So
Ju-
about even?
Joe can speak closer to that.
So-
Joe Hill, our streets program manager.
Yeah, so we're, right now, again, excluding the grant funds for the Porter Bridge, after these 4 completed, we're about 1.4 million in savings. So
Awesome.
60th was a little bit up, but the others have been down.
Great job.
Update on the 24th Avenue Southwest Bridge for the major rehab. That bid actually opened this afternoon. And I just got
I
that
told you it
text
was
a little bit ago. So, and as of right now, that is, come in under the estimated cost. So
Awesome.
you guys will be seeing that here within the next month and a half. And we're hovering right around the number that we want to.
Awesome.
Okay,
So,
so if we're seeing savings, if there are other identified emergencies or repairs that need to happen that can be pulled out of that pool as well? Or-
Yes, so remember when we initially put this out to a vote, we have historically always accounted for, and Beth, if I start misspeaking here, call me out. But we have historically accounted for 100% of our proceeds. When we did this, we accounted for the 76%. I think our requirement is 75. We accounted for about 75% of those proceeds and left that extra bit of those proceeds as contingency, even though we do have a list. And I can say that we had our most recent biennial inspection with the Federal Highway, and we've taken that information, and our priority list that goes beyond this bond program is still staying the same. You might see a couple of bridges move, but we're not seeing a lot of movement. So our original plan is still in place for the 10-year cycle here.
Okay, thank you.
And then if we have savings at the end, like we do with all of our bond programs, we can come back to council, we can suggest projects to be added. Council can say whether they approve or disapprove of that project being added. But at this point, the savings that we've seen, we do anticipate that we will be able to address more bridge structures than we initially thought. And, we're not sure exactly why all of our numbers are coming in. It may have been partially that we were just very cautious with our estimating, which is a good place to be. But also, I think that as we've gone into full design, we've been able to see some ways that we can, there's some areas where we really talked to our designers and said, can we take a little out, can we do this? All within good safety, but, you know, we've been able to find some savings through designs also.
Is it called value engineering?
Not value engineering, just good design that can reduce costs, but not cutting things out
Okay.
for the purpose of reducing costs, which is what I consider value engineering.
Okay.
This is more just looking at good design principles and what can we do to make it better.
Okay, I appreciate that
And-
update.
Correct that we don't really receive any outside funding for bridge maintenance in the city limits of Norman that are not a highway or a interstate, right?
Bridge maintenance funds are very hard to come by. We have been very lucky that we've taken care of several bridges throughout Norman because we did a road project and the bridge was a part of that.
Do local voters approving local.
Yeah, voter approved.
Yeah.
The Franklin Bridge, just west of Votech.
Yeah.
You've got the Emhoff Bridge,
West
which
Main
was like
Street.
one of our top stormwater issues. Both of those were taken care of through the 2012 road bond, or
And,
transportation bond.
So one of those things to be advocating to our state representatives and federal representatives is funding for, I mean, we have over 70 bridges in the city limits. of
We're up to
Norman.
about 80 now.
I mean, it's just like, if we hadn't done the bridge bond, if voters had not approved it, I mean,
We'd be in bad shape.
we were in bad shape, we're still not there,
Yeah.
but this is making a huge difference.
And that's also why we got the bridge bond, but then we also have the bridge maintenance.
And this is a 20-year program, right?
10.
10?
20-year service on the
20
debt,
years.
10 years of construction.
Right.
But we also have the maintenance that we ask for every year in capital, and that's to go out and get those bridges that haven't made this list yet and keep them off this list. So I kind of this is buying that newer used car, and then that maintenance is changing the oil and putting tires on it and doing brakes and
These are
rotors.
the most costly
So,
ones that we know.
yeah.
of,
By using those funds, we'll keep those bridges off this list or be able to extend the life of those projects, or those bridge structures. So that's why we have the two programs that work together, just like we do, or we have the transportation bond to go out and rebuild or expand or do new things with roadways. And then we have the street maintenance bond where we go out there and fix them. So same thing, we have two different programs that work side by side to take care of our infrastructure.
And would we try to renew it after, or at year 10 or 20?
I think that's something that when we get there, we'll start having those discussions and see where we're at. But I can't answer that at this point. We're really early in this program. So we want to monitor that, and when we get closer to those discussions, will start becoming more real.
Any other bridge comments, questions? Councilmember Bruce?
You spoke to it, I'm just curious, we really don't have any value engineering clauses in our contract related to savings of cost, right? We're not doing that, right?
We don't have anything directly in there, but as we review plans, we're always looking for ways that we can keep costs contained. But yeah, there's no direct clause about value engineering, but that's always at the forefront of our project teams and especially our capital projects engineers.
Are we providing a design for contractors to bid on?
Yes,
Okay, so, and there's no value engineering clause, got it.
right. Yeah, no, we give them the design and they go out and perform the work to our design. And then we inspect to make sure it's completed our standards.
Any other bridge bond questions? Thank you.
We want to brag for a second though. So
Yeah.
these are those completed projects up there on the top at 60th Avenue Northeast. Great looking structure. First time I drove up on it, I was just in shock of how great it looked. Then below that, on the far left there is the East Post Oak. Then you've got the Main Street Bridge there in the bottom. And then you've got the Lindsay Street, that's at Lindsay and Classen. Most people don't realize that's actually a bridge. It goes diagonal under that whole intersection.
There was never any visual appearance that anything was ever happening.
I know, that was a great project. The Main Street and Lindsay Street were both rehab, so going in there and just doing some major work, getting them cleaned up, getting it back to a better working condition. And then the other two were complete reconstructs.
The Main Street one, the sidewalks on both sides of it were the real big deal. It was, for me anyway, because before, just a little bit east of the Panera Bread and the bus stop was like kind of a jagged metal railing there, and it was not a real comfortable situation if you're walking or especially if you're in a wheelchair, so.
Mhm.
This is wider now and concrete barrier between you and the street. And looks a lot nicer in my opinion than it did
Yeah.
before too.
And then we worked with the Parks Department to do that landscaping in that one landscape island where they came in. We helped remove that, and
Which takes less maintenance.
they came in and to do as a demonstration of what they could all look like down through there, so. Great,
So
great
less
projects.
maintenance, less water, less everything to maintain nice.
Yeah.
People have asked, and that's been my response.
Yeah, absolutely. So to talk about Gray Street for a little bit, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty ready for that project to be finished. So it is well over completion date. We have been pushing, this is an ODOT managed project, so we're not managing directly. We do voice our concerns continually about the time it's taken to complete the project. They're pretty much down now to getting the railroad crossing completed. That's what's supposed to happen Friday night and Saturday night. So Sunday, we should have a two-way travel on Gray Street, which is going to be fantastic. I know that there's been some citizens concerned about the fact that the landscaping and irrigation is not near completion at this point. They will continue to work on that, but we felt it doesn't seem good to have a road out there that's completely ready to go and keep it closed off. Let's get people traveling on it, and we'll continue to work on the landscape and irrigation. So,
There was no landscaping before, so.
yeah,
That's more grant.
Just add to that Mayor Holman and myself did visit with former Public Works Director O'Leary about getting some landscaping, because I don't think that was included originally. So just throwing that out there. And then I have a question about the outstanding ADA items that need to be completed. What has been identified?
I don't know that we have I think there's just random crossings that we're missing some of the pedestrian buttons over here at Webster. There's no big significant large items, just a lot of little cleanup, and there's some items that just need to be kind of dealt with, just they don't tweaks, but I don't think there's.
An area on your radar, it's gonna be Jones and Gray, and it's gonna be over by Sergio's. There's this really weird little,
That is totally built correct, and the reason why is because we worked with Sergio's, we talked to them, and the idea is that they would actually park at that location. So where they're parking today should be the driveway. If you notice, they're blocking their own driveway.
Yeah.
So they should be parking over there. So that curb was there intentionally so that people wouldn't be running into cars or trying to go through a parking lot when there's a car. That
so
was,
across the street from Jones will be more of an access for pedestrians / ADA folks
Yeah.
than.
yeah, and there's no sidewalk that
I guess that's
continues
called
on that side of
it's-
Jones going
it's
south.
not.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a sidewalk on Jones that runs past the theater and runs in front of Sergio's on the west side of it, but then it just ends.
Yeah, there's like a pole.
There's a hole in the middle of it, and then now there'll be a curb, so someone will have to walk through the Sergio's parking lot and go around it and maybe wheel around it. So that was what I noticed.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm mostly thinking of our folks in
Not the whole curb,
wheelchairs.
just the pedestrian.
Because I have somebody who comes in from the original town site neighborhood, they're not in a car, they're using their wheelchair to get around downtown. And they're not the only one, but just thinking about like, okay, so they're coming down Gray and they're gonna be on the south side. And then let's say they wanna go on to Jones, like figuring out where she can go, so.
Sure, but there's sidewalk on the opposite side of the street, so there is ADA access. We haven't taken away any access. It's still accessible and it still meets.
Okay.
We would love to be able to go back and fix the situation on the west side of Jones. It's just, we were so far over budget on this project, we really couldn't include that piece at this time. But that's something we'll continue to watch and try to find a way to take care
Another
of.
project, yeah. And I think we're planning to do a walk through on Tuesday.
Yes, sir,
Final-
9 o'clock.
Final walkthrough on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, I may put that on hopefully it doesn't take more than an hour. I gotta get back to City Hall at 10.
It depends on how fast we walk.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it's from 9 to 10.
I'll get it on my calendar.
But we were, just for your, we're gonna meet at Public Works. We'll walk right out the back door and we'll get going. And if we need to, I can have staff available. If we're not done, I can have staff available to bring you back.
So fascinating to me that they would open it to two-way sort of tomorrow to the tracks and then go around the tracks and then fully potentially on Saturday night.
And part of the reason for that is because we simply,
Seems like they
Saturday
just
night,
wait till it's all done and then do it.
well, Saturday, the problem is you gotta pull all those barricades back and the time frame and the staff that would have to be here after hours and doing all that. So it's so we can get the bulk of it taken care of one night, finish up the rest, get that done the next night. And we're trying to get things as close to normal as possible, as quickly as we can. And really the reason we're delayed to this point is just, it's getting the BNSF and getting the people that they have to have on site. We'll be out there, I think we'll have some staff out there both nights, and definitely when they're doing the connections and testing of the arms and the signals, we'll be working out there with that to make sure that we know how it's operating. And so we'll be there in full force.
And tomorrow, what, is it first thing AM or is it tomorrow night or when does tomorrow, when can I drive to City Hall on Gray Street?
I'd say let's be flexible.
Which, it's gonna make it a lot easier for me to get to City Hall, by the way. So
I would hate to tell you one thing or another, but the work at the railroad will be in the evening
Yeah.
or night.
But in the morning, 8 AM or whatever, I can drive east on
Yeah.
Gray Street.
Paul, what's the,
So the plan tomorrow morning, 4 AM, they will close off entirely from the west side of Jones through the James Garner intersection. That whole intersection has to
Whole
be closed
crossing
while they
closed.
do. It'll be full closure with detours around to Main and Acres,
Okay.
depending on which direction you're going. Once they have that done, we have to, right now, all the signals are turned on, but they're all red eastbound, so we have to go through and program each signal. Once that's done, they'll take down the barricades. So how long that takes kind of depends on what we run into, but my hope is it's sometime tomorrow morning when we'll have everything else two-way, but definitely by the end of the day.
You can always go two-way.
Right.
It's just if you get caught or not.
That's why,
That's right.
well, it was a few
It's
weeks
hard
ago.
on the bumper of your car to go through those type 3 barricades. though.
Well,
Like Chevy
around,
Chase, you know.
once they painted the new lines on the street, people were driving down the two-way already. So I texted her and was like, "Am I gonna put up some barricades? 'Cause people think it's already open." So the traffic signals that face the other direction, the new ones, will be functioning tomorrow.
yes,
Okay.
that's part of what that's why the uncertainty in
And it's just
8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, noon, 2
Yeah,
o'clock.
sure.
It depends on the timings.
throughout tomorrow. So beware, everybody who
Yeah.
might drive down Gray Street tomorrow.
And then they will continue to do the landscape and irrigation.
Councilmember Blodgett?
This is the only thing I'm hearing from people, so I thought since hopefully some of them are watching that had these questions that you could speak on it. The only thing I'm hearing is the parking, so and how everyone hates it. So the new way
not
to park.
everyone.
Well, not everyone, but people talking to me.
Yeah.
So I just was wondering, what is your advice on how that will happen when most people in Norman drive right on you? So if you're wanting to park, how is that? I mean, your reverse lights all of a sudden pop on, but somebody's right behind you.
I'm gonna sit there and make them go around me or back up. We will learn. It's just like
I mean, I know,
they
yeah,
didn't do the roundabout right on day one.
yeah.
People are gonna
I guarantee
stop.
the first time they put angled parking in, head in, I guarantee you people struggled with it until they learned it. So it just is with anything, there's a learning curve, but we've seen it work perfectly and work well with students down on Jones. So, or Jones, I'm sorry, on James Garner.
James Garner.
You got me all thinking about Jones earlier. So I do think there'll be a learning process. I think people will eventually learn to leave some space. I'm not gonna give up the space just because you're on my tail. I'm gonna sit there. You'll either figure it out or not. But I do think it'll take some time to work through it. It's working great on
People are using it,
coming
yeah.
westbound. It is working fantastic. The only, I'm hearing a lot of people complain about it, but I think there are people who aren't using it. Every time we propose something new, there's a resistance, and I get that. There's still people who will tell you the roundabout's the worst thing we ever did, and I get people coming and going, man, are we gonna get more? When are you gonna build more? So
And,
it's a
I'm
balance.
so tired of all the traffic lights in Norman. We get that all the time, right? Why, there's so many red lights. Well, get rid of them, put roundabouts. Oh, I don't like the roundabouts.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just,
Yeah.
we'll have nothing and everybody can just crash.
Just stay home.
Just bike.
But, you know, you cannot park head in, so you can't pull across and pull in. So we'll be working with parking for enforcement of that so that people will learn to do it right. Like I said, I drove through there today and westbound looked great. I didn't see a single problem. Eastbound, everybody's just pulling across.
Sure.
I'm like,
That's the direction they're going though.
yeah, but it'll be different when there's traffic coming at you and you're not
Right.
gonna be able to do it, so.
Right.
But when you pull out, I think once people get used to pulling out and not, I mean, pulling out on Main Street, you kind of just, sometimes you just take a big deep breath and start going.
Literally.
That's gone. Now you're gonna be able to just look right out your window and see if there's something coming.
That's what I think the first time people pull out
Right.
is when you
Yeah.
get hooked.
You're
up.
backing one way or the other. I don't, everybody's scared of backing, but you back out.
And traffic has to slow down. When someone starts backing out, you could swerve into the other lane, which is dangerous, and people do. Or you have to slow down and stop and wait for them to back out, and then, you know. So it's a delay either way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And to, I mean, that point too, people are just gonna have to not tailgate everybody. I don't know.
They're not supposed
There's
to.
only so much we can do.
Yeah.
Councilmember Dixon
And
has
use
a
your
great
blinker.
photo
When you see it, put your
of
blinker on.
people at one of the schools where everybody's reverse
Yeah,
angle
yeah.
parking intentionally, and they're doing it without
Whittier,
stripes.
on McGee.
They figured it out. So I think that as people adjust to it, it'll be okay.
Just
Councilmember Green?
to add to that, parallel parking is more of the same, you know, best practices being shown on your signal. Let everybody know what you're doing, and they should get it because they're coming through an area where everybody's reverse angle parking. I haven't seen it be a problem, but it was a question I had. That was my own, and then I've seen it pop up, which has to do with trucks doing that, and will they go over the sidewalk? And like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but could you
I
speak
got
to the
one.
design?
It didn't.
Well, we actually, in fact, Paul spent about half an afternoon. He went out and measured all the distance from the rear wheel to the back of the bumper on all the trucks in the parking lot. So we got an array of trucks. We got Dodges, Fords, you know, Toyotas. We got them all. And went out there, and because they're at such an angle, they don't stick over any more than the front bumper would.
I got a good
So-
picture of one that showed a truck and it had a hitch on the back and it was not even to the curb actually. So
Yeah, and if you think about the hitch,
Because of the
because you're at
angle
an
of the
angle,
parking spot.
the hitch isn't gonna hang over like it does on, you know, straight in parking. So we actually did look at that, because we wondered if we were gonna have to put some parking blocks out to stop people from getting so far back. And what we actually found is that it's also, I think, enhanced on this one because it's 45-degree angle parking. And so you'll be able to back in, it'll be very similar to, I mean, the parking that was there before it's at the same angle today that it was when it was before. And before, those parking spaces were between 9 and 10 foot in width. They're all 10-foot width now. We went from 84 spaces to 80 spaces. So there's no significant loss. You know, it's very similar, but we're getting a lot of people saying you made them, you know, longer. You made them, no, they're basically the exact same size. So we were pretty cautious in what we were trying to accomplish on this project.
And also I saw that photo Scott had of everybody
Yeah, I
parking
love
on
it.
the
That's-
grass.
We've been doing that for years.
Yeah, I saw that on my watch, so.
Councilmember Bruce?
Scott, I just can't remember the speed, posted sign, what is it, 25?
25.
Yes, there's really no change in speed from the past.
No, we typically don't change road sign or the speed on a street just because we did something to it. And if we do that. We do a complete speed study. Our traffic division does that, and they go out and they do the study, find out what the percentiles are, and then they make recommendations whether it should go up or down.
And the speed on Main, can't remember, 25.
Yes.
It just seems like it's higher because
Everybody's driving
3 lanes in
fast.
one direction, people tend to drive much higher speed. So I'm hoping with two-way that it will actually make people drive the speed limit on Gray Street now instead of driving 45 and 50. Which we used a radar gun one time during an art walk, and 48 miles was the top speed during an art walk on Main Street one night.
You just haven't been out there at 2 a.m. when the taxi runs through there. Catch all the lights if you hit the gas hard enough.
Yeah, that's the kind of issue that I've always tried to point out about the one-way streets is 3 lanes of capacity in one direction, when it's not peak traffic, it means the street is mostly vacant and you have 3 wide lanes of a straightaway where people can drive very fast, can swerve across all 3 lanes at once, which happens all the time. And when you build your streets for peak traffic at 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday, well, the other 21 or 22 hours of the day, you don't have that much traffic on the 2 streets, and it's just wide open, which is what encourages people to drive much faster than the posted speed limit. I used to think the speed limit on Main Street was 45 miles an hour because it feels like you can just open it up. And so I'm hoping that it will actually cause people to drive the speed limit. And as I said Tuesday, if your current purpose is using downtown as a speedway to get to the east side or west side as fast as possible, then this may not be the route for you anymore. You may want to find another way. Although I don't think there's another way that you're going to be able to speed through town without running into traffic. So the days of speeding around and disregard for pedestrians are over downtown. That's just to put it blunt. Councilmember Grant?
To that point, I don't know if it would make sense in June or August, but I would like to see, we've had it in the past, data on accidents between cars and pedestrians and bicyclists. Maybe August would make sense, because then this will be open for about a month or 2. I guess CPTC is at the end of August, almost like 2 months worth of data. But just to compare Gray Street and Main Street. And then I had a Ward 4 constituent that was hit on his bike. And he's a downtown worker and musician, so he's, leaving late at night from his job to get home. And I don't know what our trends are. I just know at the beginning of the year there were some bad car accidents in different parts of the city. So if you guys could put that together.
Well, and if we're going to do traffic studies, we'd like to do those while both OU and Norman Public Schools are in session so that we get the full picture. If we did one now, it would look very different. Obviously, there's a lot less traffic right now. But for a collection of crash data, it may be a little bit later so that because sometimes getting the crash data and getting it reported and getting back to us can take a little bit more time. But we could definitely look at that maybe in the fall, sometime in the fall, and see if we could get that looked at.
Yeah, I'd like to see how it compares. I bet it'll be better. Just thinking about it will probably be better.
Well, and I really think that we're probably getting closer to needing to do more of an area-wide study, and that would be a good time to incorporate that information. With Gray being under construction, we can't really tell exactly what's happening with the traffic now that we've opened James Garner. So there's been some discussion about kind of doing a little bit wider space. So maybe we could, if we could find funding, we could look at something like that.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say, if memory serves, even when we were working on Gray, we had to put out a PSA about people driving safely around our construction crews. I remember that happening not too long ago.
Yeah, I think that orange cones just become a challenge. Like video
the
game, the
lines
more you
of
hit,
it?
the more points you get, I'm not sure.
And just as a short refresher, 2015-16, we did a 2-way study on Main and Gray Street. We had one conducted by an outside firm to look at traffic data and if they could be converted to 2-way, back to 2-way, and accommodate and work.
Mm-hmm.
And we adopted that, council adopted that, or accepted that study in 2017 or so.
I think it's older than that.
Well, there's been a couple of versions, but when we adopted it, it was Bria Clark's first meeting, and I remember she was kind of upset as a council member for Ward 6. And there was some other big stuff going on. She was like, "Why are we doing it?" And I was like, "Well, it's a 2-year study, and we got to accept it." So, but it was part of what led to us putting this on the 2019 ballot for consideration. And that study did show that not only that it could be done, how it could be done too, to guide how that conversion could be done, but showed that, that Gray Street had significantly less traffic than Main Street at that time, that both of them, if I recall, had a lot less traffic than they had back in the 1970s when they were 2-way before, And some of that had to do with back then Robinson was like a 2-lane road and didn't have an underpass. Rock Creek was a 2-lane country road back in the 1970s. And Tecumseh was also a 2-lane country road that was a dead end at Porter and did not connect to Sooner Road yet. And that didn't happen until the late 2000s. So back then in the 70s, Main and Gray really were the options for getting east and west, and downtown was pretty hollowed out by the development of the interstate and the mall and all that. And so it made a lot of sense then to take the 2 main streets and say, how can we get as many cars through and out of here as possible, as fast as possible? And 2 one-way streets, 3 lanes in each direction, is really great, because people have asked, well, what was wrong with it? Why are we changing it? It worked great. Yes, it works great at moving as many cars as fast as possible through downtown and out of it. But it doesn't work great if you're trying to increase pedestrian safety, property visibility, business visibility, and all those types of things. So that's been a lot of my motivation.
Well, in the 70s also, there was still, your shopping just still down on Main Street.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember spending many
It was
days
starting
down there
to,
with
the
my
mall
mom,
opened in
so-
76 and things were starting to move out. And it's like, well, there's not as many people downtown as there were, so let's do this. And it was like Porter, Main and Gray were 4 lanes, 2 in each direction with no center turn lane based on the pictures I've seen. And so it was a lot different setup as well. So, but this is not something that was just thought of last minute. Every Ward 4 council member that I've served with in the last 13 years, and even going back prior to even before Mayor Rosenthal represented Ward 4, to Councilmember David Ray, Councilmember Kevin Pipes, have all been supportive of this change going back over 20 years. So, and these are the people that have been elected to represent downtown Norman and central Norman over that time period. So anyway, short sort of history on how we got here for everybody wondering, and giving their commentary about it, even though they haven't been involved in any of it all these years online. Any other questions about Gray Street?
Grant's the one that got it done.
Yeah.
Everybody else happened on their watch.
And it was council member Bill Hickman, he ran for mayor. It was under his, when he was on Ward 4 is when we put that bond forward, and he was a strong advocate for getting that on there. So, okay, well, I appreciate the update on that project. No other questions about it? Okay. And then the next one is item number 4 is a discussion regarding updates to the bicycle route map, which is, that's been going on for a couple of years, I think.
Well, before we get started, I feel like I need to talk about some things from the last presentation, because for some people, all those traffic signals is job security.
Yeah.
The other thing with the back-end angle parking, they're intentionally wide to give people a little more comfort when they're doing it, but we can always come back and restripe as people get more comfortable with it to narrow that space up and maybe gain some of the 4 that we lost.
So we can say if we,
Yeah.
if you can learn how to do it, we can add more street parking on Main and Gray Street, folks.
Right. Now, let's see, I'll just pass these around.
Thank you.
We came to you guys a few months ago and talked about the Bicycle Advisory Committee's efforts to update the bike map. It was going on before COVID, if that gives you an idea as to when we got started with this. And because of COVID, we had a lot of issues with not having quorums for meetings and dealing with virtual meetings. It just took forever. That's kind of the joke amongst the committee members, is that, are we still talking about the map? Can we not talk about anything new for a change? Well, we finally got the map done. We have about 45 days left to get. We have an agreement on the books with TSET to help us print this in 11 by 17 form to hand out at bike shops and to, for anybody who's interested in a copy of that. But the next step with this map will be to work with our GIS department to get it as a layer on our online maps. So that's where we're at.
So the TSET funding has come in or hasn't for?
It has been, it's been in place for about 2 years.
They had offered it to us and we just haven't been ready
So
to
it's
take
readily
it.
available?
Yes, it is.
You don't have to go through a process?
No, but it's only available through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, well, it sounds good about getting them out into the,
Yes.
and I did hear bike shops, but there are places like Lazy Circles does
Sure.
a bike ride, so, bike shop adjacent or
Yes.
rider adjacent, and then we have that Maverick Criterium coming as
It-
well, so.
And a lot of the members of the BAC are hooked into with rides like that, so they're gonna know the places too where these need to be displayed. Yeah, I think we got that covered.
We also have access to the university. So there will be opportunities for people to take the small maps as well as we're picturing at some of the retail places where there might be a poster, maybe not with information on the back, but at least the routes would be available to both generate interest and then there'll also be a QR code that will link you to the online map.
You maybe put something up for their students on their webpage or link it to us.
We will work with that. We have one of the BAC members is part of the OU group. So we're counting on basically keeping it updated and the information continuously available through the QR system rather than having to reprint and do everything. That's kind of the intent. And so OU could take advantage of that. Whoever needed to could take advantage of that.
And just as a tidbit of information, when we developed the backside of the map, all those rules and everything, the bicycle basics, we realized that there's a lot of our ordinances that are kind of out of date. So that's the next thing the committee is working on, is reviewing those ordinances with our legal staff to try to get those current as well. So you should be seeing something through council 3 or 4 months down the road.
And then, a couple ones, I've kind of been on this one for a number of years because we did it sort of, but the section of Jenkins between Boyd and Duffy, that was, the sidewalk was redone, but we weren't able to do the wide sidewalk because there were trees and some other issues at the time. Since then, those trees have all been cut down, I think, and there seems to be that there might be enough space to extend that sidewalk another 5 feet potentially and get that connection from Duffy to, it might be tricky in front of it because of that part that was redone in front of the shopping strip right there. And that could be tricky to redo that again, but the part that's in front of the residential, and that would really shore up that connection to me, since the sidewalks on Campus Corner are narrow. There's just that little gap in the multimodal path. And then with the new Jenkins project, and that mostly being being 8 and 10 feet wide, that coming along, so that would help bring that continuous path down. And then, so I had that one as a future one I wanted to try to get through at some point, and then sidewalk widening, I guess. And then I noticed on here the Imhoff connection from Classen, 12th Classen east to 24th is listed as a basic rider route. Is it? I think it is a 10-foot path on one side now, on the Hitachi side, or on the other. Or I think
It's on the Hitachi side, yeah.
So I know it maybe isn't technically Legacy Trail, but that would seem that's the connection to get to the Highway 9 path, though, right? From Central Norman.
Yes.
Okay. And then I know on here it has future path. Since I know we just completed it's almost complete, the northeast 12th Robinson to Rock Creek multimodal path. So that's done now, or almost done?
Yes, and that would be part of when we update this in
And that'll
GIS,
be
yes.
Up there, okay.
We had to kind of stop at some point.
Yeah, and then you already got it updated for the new flood
Yes.
one already, so
Yes.
that's good.
And our intent was to make this the easy term as a living map.
Okay.
Being online as new projects come and are completed and are added in, such as the ones you've mentioned.
Okay.
Those can be pushed out and made available to the folks for the information they need.
And then we do still hope to connect Cedar Lane to Jenkins at some point in the future. And would be it's been talked about as having a path on it too. But would be a great connection south of Highway 9 to connect the west to the east.
Yeah, and I don't foresee us building a bridge in this town that's not gonna have that kind of
Right.
accommodation with it anyway.
And so that's not a funded or designed project, but it's been one that I know as Ward 7 council member, I was always getting questions about access to Eagle Cliff from the west and Cedar Lane being extended to connect to Jenkins. And then the Sooner Station, the development that we approved on the corner, Jenkins and Highway 9, that
Sooner
village didn't have that, but that was a part of that whole discussion.
I would just like to add that we actually have a complete streets manual. It's actually part of our engineering design criteria. It's actually adopted by council. So we will not design an arterial street that doesn't have fully multimodal functioning paths or, ways that we can do it. So yeah, any roadway that we do in the future or anything, projects that come through on bonds, they will all be built to that standard.
Councilor Grant.
This is a little bit more in the future, but I was just thinking about it since we took that one transit trip to Salt Lake City and rode around. And I was just thinking about the different stations and accommodations for bikes or using bikes to get around once you get to a spot. Will y'all be in on those discussions if we are advancing towards regional transit about connectivity with bikes?
I would assume we'd have some say in that, yes.
Okay, we'll just, good luck to us getting it and then making sure it's all connected so people, could ride their bike down to the station however they do, the bikes in transit and then get off. I was gonna say, one place I saw even had lockers to store your bike, so that was pretty cool.
And we do work closely with David, with the ACOG and their transportation planning folks, so.
Okay, cool.
The other one I had too was, because we've been talking about the Griffin property for a long time, for a while, and things are ever evolving with that, but because the multimodal path extends along Main Street all the way to 12th, and then we have the new multimodal path on 12th from Robinson North, if we were able to widen the sidewalk on 12th from Main to Robinson, that could be part of the Griffin whole thing, but I think that would be pretty helpful to do the multimodal path, and then you got those two connected right there. I know it shows Carter as having the basic rider route, and then it going into the Griffin Park and Sutton Wilderness and connecting to the new path that way. But that connection from Main to Robinson, that I'd definitely like to see that be a multimodal path at some point too, if we can get that worked out. And then, if I understand correctly, you did a lot of questions about bike lanes. We're not doing the green bike lanes anymore as far as painting them that color, or any color, but the discussion about, protected bike lanes with actual barriers versus unprotected, and then kind of a movement more towards multimodal paths instead of in-street bike lanes. Is that accurate?
These are on the committee agendas monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that kind of is, that
Yes.
been the kind of the direction of the bike,
Yes.
of the advocates and the people on the board? That if we, basically, the way I understand it, if we can't separate bike lanes that are in the street with physical barriers, then preference would be separated multimodal paths that are just not in the street at all.
And that does tie in with kind of the code rewrite or update, because the technology has changed so much that how people use bike lanes or multimodal paths, be it just families or be it the 28 mile per hour e-bikes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's all being included in our kind of forward planning and looking.
And it's like kind of, I guess, like with West Lindsay Street, traffic can move pretty quickly on the new West Lindsay Street. And I've heard some feedback about the bike lanes, and some people use them and feel comfortable, some folks don't. I kind of think, I get to thinking, I guess if West Lindsay Street didn't have bike lanes and had 10-foot sidewalk on both sides instead, maybe that would be different. But it also, you still have all those driveways to cross, so that's really the major thing I see is the hindrance is all the driveways of interactions, regardless if we had a path or a bike lane, so. But I just wanted to clarify that, because that's what I was under the impression, that we were trying to, where possible, do the multimodal paths instead of trying to build in street bike lanes like we have been doing.
As an example of that, 36th Avenue Northwest was originally designed to have on-street bike lanes. And the new design, in fact, right now we have the consultant taking those off and doing a 10-foot multimodal trail. Not only is it better for cycling, but now instead of building 10 foot of roadway, which is about that thick and has a lot more work involved, we're doing sidewalks. So it actually saves a couple $100,000 a mile on road costs.
Sure.
So there's multiple reasons to do it, but yeah, we definitely are looking towards the multimodal. I think that there are some areas in Norman we could look at having protected bike lanes. They have their own set of issues and problems to solve that I don't think that I'm finding out from a lot of communities I'm talking to, they haven't solved them either. So, you got to be able to clean them. When it's separated, you've got to have the piece of equipment to fit in there to clean it. So there's a lot of weird things that happen with those that make them problematic, and it does have to be a hard barrier. It can't just be I've had people go, just get the little paddles that stick up. Yeah, those really don't stop a car at all. So, and once they're hit, you've got to replace the whole section of them. So we tried them on some different crossings, but we're always, I'm a cyclist too, so, I stay attuned to it, but there's, definitely between the complete streets and the stuff that we're hearing from the BAC, we always appreciate the feedback they give us for our designs too. But that's definitely on-street bike lanes are not the preferred decision-making that we're having on road projects now.
Well, the main one I only really get complaints about is that one at Highway 9 and 12th Avenue Southeast, the right turn lane to go south on 12th into Eagle Cliff, and then the bike lane and the merging right there. So, but that's really that's what I've been getting complaints about since it was done. So
that's how they're supposed to be done.
But anyway, yeah, just wanted to clarify that because we have gotten questions about bike lanes versus paths and all that. So, okay, any other Councilmember Bruce. And then
Just a
Kirby.
question for you on 48th Street there, Robson to Tecumseh, there's a dotted line, future path. And I used to see a lot of group bikers, big groups like 25, 30. I don't really see them anymore as much. But when you're talking about a future path, that's a 2-lane road.
48th is a bond project.
Yeah, so 48th from Robinson all the way up to Tecumseh is in the 2019 bond program. And the first section is
24th. 24th.
You said 48th, right?
Oh, I mean west. I'm thinking east.
Yeah, 48th west.
West, yeah.
So those are both bond
I was thinking
projects.
of that turnpike.
The
I was
first
like, no,
mile
we're
is
not
well
waiting
under
for you.
design. And it has a 10-foot multimodal bike path on the east side. And we will continue that as you go on up to Tecumseh. And then long-term, we'll continue that to the north as far as we can. So we're actually, it's a complete street. So we're going to put bicycle, make sure that ped, bike, car, buses, everybody can utilize it correctly and not be impeded.
I used to really see a lot of groups over there. I don't see that hardly anymore.
The traffic, the timing of the traffic, and just the growth of Norman that way has basically, they ride mostly southeast out of Reeves or out of Forest, they go out towards Draper now. It's just viewed as, for the size of the packs like you used to see, the groups, just a safer, little more manageable route. And it's an easy out and back as well. So that's why you're not seeing the traditional routes that we use for decades over on the west side. They're kind of moving toward the northeast. Although this will have to be kind of recalculated as the new traffic and the new roadways are in place with the turnpikes, but that'll all get figured out. But that's why that's changed.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Councilman Kirby.
I was wondering how you picked the advanced rider route, mainly because this one out here on Cedar Lane in between the Walmart and 84th, that one's. I've seen a lot of times there was almost altercations because farmers come over them hills with a trailer load of cattle or, you know, a trailer load of hay, and bikers beat 18 wide across the road instead of hugging the ditch, you know, and you go to shutting it down, about lose $100,000 in the trailer, you get a little bit upset, and bicycles almost get hit, they get a little bit upset, and there's a whole lot of angry people out in the road pointing fingers. So I was kind of wondering why you chose Cedar Lane, being how narrow it is, how no lines are on it, it's all farm, and you have Post Oak just a mile down to the south, and it's wider, it has lines, it has neighborhoods being built on it. I mean, to me, it seems like Post Oak would have been the more safe route for the bikers and the farmers, because I mean, that Cedar, as you know, people go down Main Street, I mean, that's farmers, and you come over the hill with a 180 horsepower tractor, there's no shutting that truck down. And I mean, there's a lot of hills, so, and being that road has no stripes.
And some of that's evolving, and the advanced designation is a definition related to the experience and the competence of the rider, not necessarily the route or the road itself. So because of the things you said, many people would not be comfortable using Post Oak or Cedar. But if you've ridden a lot, you actually should know that you're supposed to be over. So that's why that designation is there. And so it gets used some because it's more of an out.
Is there any way we would consider moving it a mile south to a safer road that has stripes and a lot better visibility? I mean, you still have the same amount of hills, but I'm not just talking about the bikers, I'm talking about the farmers.
Oh,
because somebody comes over the hill, I mean, I'm glad people are out exercising and everything, but if a farmer breaks every leg on a cow on a trailer, that's enough to bankrupt a farmer.
Right.
I mean, that's their livelihood. Also, we can exercise. So I'm just wondering, is there a way that we can keep the bikes going and keep the farmers safe? Because I mean, that's out of all the routes out here, that's that only 3 mile section. I mean, or can we get it widened with some stripes put in the road to where it's, I mean, and you got, I don't know if you ever been to trees overhang the road.
No,
there is no swerving. They're going to plow a tree and end up with somebody dead.
Hopefully there is some future and plans for Cedar Lane improvements that would ameliorate some of that.
2019 bond program. We're gonna be going to 36, and we'll be changing that whole intersection to 36 and Cedar Lane, raising it up to where the sight distance will be better and more accommodating for every user. It won't be as great for cyclists anymore because that climb out of that thing is really tough, and a lot of cyclists like it. So that will be going to that point. So from where it ends the 4-lane to just past 36, but there are no current plans to go any further than that.
Out here where all the farms are and the hay fields and everything, where they're coming in and out of them pastures on a tiny little road and coming over them tiny little hills.
There's just the traffic doesn't support the need to be able to go out and widen those roads at this point. So, and part of my issue with Post Oak is we don't own it. We only own 1/2 of it. So to put a bike lane on somebody else's road is problematic.
Of it, right?
Yeah, but you can't ride, I can't go that way on this side of the road. So that's one concern I would have with Post Oak. But again, I think you're seeing less and less use of Cedar Lane as time has gone on, and with the inclusion of the path on Highway 9, you're seeing more people choose to take that.
Definitely not with the farmers.
So
I got a lot of family who actually lives in that, and I'm telling you right now, you don't want my Uncle Jimmy coming over a hill at 84 years old pulling a tractor, because he'll be lucky to see him, let alone shut that rig down. So
these are
That's why
basically,
it's advanced. They're supposed to be advanced. They better know what they're doing if they're out there.
these are basically,
these are suggestions that for people, if they do want to ride, so that one would be.
and we have a neighbor that he rides them every day.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's out here, he's
And
awesome.
so,
and
I mean,
so
we can, obviously, like we said, it's a live
I
document.
just
so
really,
we
really
can-
like that guy, and I'd prefer to see him getting back and forth to OU and home
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah,
so.
we've probably, we have a member who lives out in that area that rides it, so.
Probably the same guy.
Could be.
All right, any other questions about the bike stuff? Okay, all right, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you all.
All right, our fifth and last item on the agenda is the presentation of the April Public Transit Report. a monthly update on public transit in Norman.
I know, I see.
For anybody interested in the bus system and ridership and all those things, again, we have this discussion every month.
Thank
We have
you.
Taylor here, city staff, to lead us on.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I know we're running late, so I'll try to be brief and round out what I think is really a good multimodal meeting, if you think about it, so. In your packet, we have the memo with the reports as always. Don't have it on the screen for you, but happy to go into anything in detail that you would like in the report or not. One big update for grants. Found out this afternoon that we did not get the TSET, Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust grant for the Embark Well program. I don't know about the other grant applications we submitted, like through Parks, but at least for that one, I got a notification that one wasn't.
Did they say why?
It was obviously a general email of, we got a lot of applicants, there's not as much funding, that kind of thing. But I'll be requesting a little bit more detail, see if they have a debrief process. So that way next time, maybe we can do a little bit better if they have suggestions, or perhaps it was just there was a lot of good projects and they had to make some hard decisions. So we'll keep that project in our list though. Obviously, it's a good thing to keep at the forefront, and if, as funding becomes available or options are presented to change things, we could talk about that some more.
How much would it cost to do that?
We were estimating just $100,000 a year for 3 years to get it started. We mentioned that you could do more or less, and just provide less trips per week and maybe less people in the program. You could pull some different levers, but it kind of is how much funding do you have, and then you could provide as much service as you want or as you can.
Would it be out of bounds to think that if we did the regional transit and Embark leveled up service, that could be included in the future?
It could be one of the things that we could consider funding if there's any additional funding, that could be talked about for sure.
They were telling us, obviously it takes a while to build rail, but one of the first benefits we would see would be some upgrades in bus service.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Definitely their commentary this weekend in Salt Lake City was that that funding source probably wouldn't replace our existing transit funding, but would be additional. So one of the first things they said was our additional funding could help Norman put all of its routes on 15 minutes, or
right.
That would be one of the most impactful things that they would help us fund, but they wouldn't anticipate it. That discussion we had about our tax and it sunsetting, they were kind of saying that they didn't think it would replace our local funding, but could be a pretty good additional amount to it.
Yeah,
to help with stuff like that.
There's a lot of discussion going on and lots of things to decide, and I'd hate to comment too early on, but I think we'll know,
But it could be another
soonish
way.
what those conversations come to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then council would make decisions about what we would prioritize, what we want to fund, if we want to do the well program or expand on demand or routes or whatever.
Yep. So there could be additional funding through reauthorization, through the formula. As additional funding comes up, we'll always take advantage of those opportunities and come to council and say, hey, what do we think we should do, and what recommendations we have. So, but unfortunately, this one didn't go our way, so we'll keep at it. We thought it was a good project. We thought it would be really impactful for the amount of dollars we were presenting or requesting, but didn't get it this time. So
I just got a
Councilman.
comment. So I know I'm gonna get calls. I'm gonna get calls on this about seniors not having the ability to have that ride to the healthplex, or the health,
the wellness center.
wellness center. I never get calls. And, particularly with the bus route not going that side, right, the bus doesn't stop in front of the.
Right.
So, I'm probably gonna get 15 calls maybe on the subject, and I'll give them the response that we got here about, hey, we're gonna approach it again next year, or maybe with a better write-up or something of that nature. But, I know people were thinking about that. This is gonna be upcoming.
So you may get some advocates that reach out, requesting we find some other way to fund this, and we'll do our best to see, but that's where we're at right now. And we did make improvements to the, to Johnson Street / Wellness Way, is that what,
Yeah, I think
whichever one it's called? Some sidewalk improvements through that corridor to connect the Porter bus stop with the wellness, center. And in the next 2 or 3 years, we've been talking with Embark and also City Lincoln Edmond. We all probably are at the point we need to go back out and do a new update to our local plans, what Argo Norman Transit Plan, Edmond Shift, and OKC Moves. And then take all that feedback and say, okay, the routes need to be tweaked here, there.
And everybody seemed to agree that Edmond needed to get on Embark, and that we all needed to be under the same, and the councilman from Edmond seemed to agree.
In the sidewalk that we improved it to make it more ADA compliant, there were some areas that were to get from the existing bus stop to the adult wellness. And then we also built a crossing that was ADA compliant before you get all the way over to the street, and then a way to be able to connect into the path to get you in without having to, basically trying to make the route as short as we could to be able to assist with that. We know it's not the final solution, but we at least wanted to go out there and make it, because we were hearing that people were going all the way down to Sonic and back up and back around, and we decided that wasn't working. So, and we did share that with the staff. So hopefully that word's getting out, and maybe that will help some individuals. I know it's not gonna help everybody, but maybe that'll give some relief.
And then just quickly go into the performance reports for Embark, Norman in general, ridership was really, oh, sorry, yeah.
Just a couple of
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman.
the, the accident, you know?
Yes.
Okay. Whatever happened, did we hold the individual responsible?
I have not heard an update. In a month or two, I can reach out to PD and legal and see what we know. We just, I think we talked about this a few meetings ago, that we knew at the time the individual didn't have insurance, and this bus was only a few months old when it was hit and pretty much totaled, and we were gonna have to replace it. Well, so long story short, it was a paratransit unit that was sitting on Tecumseh Ridge Road. It was behind OnQ on that little access road, and they were waiting for the next ride so they could pull out. And they were just doing a layover there, and the other party was being pursued by law enforcement and just came around the corner very quickly and had impact to our stationary vehicle. And unfortunately, yeah, pretty much totaled it, even though it was a couple of months old. So we basically had to turn around. We spent 80% of the vehicle was spent with FTA funds, and because it was basically brand new, it had all its useful life, we had to come up with the funding to replace it, or we need to send the money back to the Federal Transit Administration. So in January, council approved us to purchase a replacement, and that should be here in July, August, and
That's like something that, I don't know, in Congress or whatever needs to fix that, but like,
That's just
it's like we
sad.
accept a grant to get a new thing, which is a great
Yeah.
deal. And then we get it, and within a month or two, it gets destroyed, no fault of our own. But then the federal government says we have to pay them back for it.
well, they're 80%,
Or
right?
come up with our own money and replace it. It's like, well, what if we didn't?
And
We went with
usually,
the grant because we didn't have the money to buy
And
it.
we're talking about the OnQ that just had somebody flip a lid yesterday, right? Like
The
that same.
North one, yeah.
Boy, that was just.
Well, it's
well,
close
this
to the
was
highway.
not a business related, this was just somebody
Yeah, just
trying to
somebody
run
sitting
out
out.
the law, right? They were just trying to run,
Yeah.
so, usually when things like this happen, it's not brand new, it's half of its useful life, 3/4, it's almost near the end, so you have like 1 or 2 years left, and it's not that much
They
of a
should put
difference,
in a
but,
thing that's like in the first year or two if something happens and the federal government replaces it or something. It's like, yeah, what if we didn't have the money to?
yeah.
That's why we asked
And
for the
this
grant.
is also a product of the city being, unfortunately, it's risk reward of being self-insured on our side too, so. That's where we're at on that vehicle.
Okay.
Couple other questions
Yeah.
on MTA grants. I understand that it's 2 to 4 years to obligate. You gotta obligate those funds, 2 to 4 years, you have 5 years to expense. Who tracks that for you? to make sure that we're in compliance with those grants as far as the funding?
Myself and then Jason Huff, who was here, who had to leave, he's the one that does the majority of the work, but he's the one that keeps track of it. And then grant reimbursements are prepared by Jason, I review them, Scott reviews them, and then we go in and pull down those funding.
Has the FTA or state level come down and done like, okay, let me do a funds audit?
Yep, so
Okay.
every 3 years, the FTA comes to every grantee in the country, or their contractor, they hire firms usually to do this, and they do what's called a triennial review, and they'll do a sample of grant draws, pull them out, and look through all the documentation. They won't look through every grant draw. And they'll look at all your policies and procedures, make sure you're following them. So that's the federal review, and they also do everything, not just the grant policies, but hey, are you doing your agency safety plan correctly? Are you, if we were providing charter service, are you doing that correctly? Doing ADA paratransit service correctly, and all the regulations that come with that. So, and then I'll say our annual audit through our through finance, the single audit, they also usually pick transit to do samples of. They don't have to, but they usually do because of the amount of grant funding we get, and they'll pull samples of grant funds, grant drawdowns, and make sure that we did the proper procedures. So,
If we ever lost funding, let's say like last 5 years, regarding to obligation status or expenditure status, if we ever lost, hey, we just lost.
no, we've never had to send money back because of an issue of grant draw, and we've never had funds lapse because we didn't use them. We always find ways to use the funding. And on the timeline, it just depends on the grant money and the purpose. So our annual grant appropriation that we use for operating, preventive, and maintenance, we get that obligated within a year and executed in a grant, and then we usually have 3 years to spend it. So, but you could take up to 3 years to get it obligated and executed in a grant award, and then you have an additional 3 years to spend it. But that annual grant that we use for our operations, we have to get it in a grant and spent in that year. Otherwise, our budget, we'd be asking council for $3 million more for our budget every year. So some of them are quicker, like that annual grant. Other ones, like if we do a capital project competitive grant, we may say, hey, we're going to replace these 2 buses in 2 years, so we're requesting money for 2 buses. That might sit on the shelf for a couple years before we get it in a grant and get it approved and stuff. So it just depends on the timeline.
I understand. I get it. You know, the different, I'm gonna call it colors of money that you guys have to deal with regarding obligation and expenditure status. I get it.
Yeah.
That's usually a high interest item, usually from an external party.
Yep, and that's why our Forbes, the auditor for all the financials, usually picks transit to do some sort of sampling. And then, like I said, FTA and their contractors come every year, or every 3 years to do a triennial review, which is actually happening right now. We did the desk audit in the spring, and they'll be here on site in early July to do the in-person review.
Last thing, I'm hoping you're gonna touch on the micro transit pilot program.
Yep. Sorry, I was just trying to be brief. That's why I was trying to jump through. But we talked about microtransit a couple times this past spring and leading into the budget cycle. So what council directed was they wanted to keep microtransit program and hopefully cut a little bit of the cost, which we worked with the operator VIA, who runs Norman On Demand, and OU, our funding partner on the program. And we cut a little bit of the cost, so we saved about I think it's $50,000 or $60,000 of city funding, and then OU increased their share by a little bit. We try to keep that proportional, so the amount of OU specific ridership for the previous year was 24%, so that's kind of what we asked OU to contribute, which they agreed to, and it's about $144,000 of the $601,000. So the difference there is what the city is going to pay over the course of next year if council approves the budget amendments on scheduled to be June 9th, and then approves the contracts, which we'll be taking to council to review on June 23rd before the start of the fiscal year.
How much was that again?
The overall contract will be for next fiscal year is $601,000, and then OU's contribution is roughly $144,000.
Just another question. I said, remind me. I And the number I have in my mind is $25 a ride that it's subsidized.
Yeah, roughly, I'd have to go back and do the number again. And I think Councilmember Dixon brought this up last week at Finance Committee, and we, or not Dixon, I'm sorry. Yeah, Dixon. Sorry, 10-month-old baby girl that doesn't sleep very well, so I don't sleep very well. So we, you know, at the time this program was introduced, it was decided that late night service for microtransit made sense, and then Sundays because we didn't run Sunday service. And I think the trade-off is for these time periods that fixed route don't make sense, you are gonna have higher costs for this service mode, but it would be much higher and much less productive if you tried to put a fixed route bus out there and just run fixed routes, right? So the more flexible on-demand service when there's not as much demand makes a lot of sense, even though the cost is higher. But that's a local decision of service mode and what service type to put out there at the time. When we did microtransit, we very easily could have put that funding towards more fixed route service or something else.
Yeah.
And that's why the Federal Transit Administration allows you to run the service that, you know, you look at for the local plans and councils decide on within the parameters of the regulations that they give you. So I hope that answers your question, but the cost per rider is higher than fixed route for sure, but the time of day, where you provide service, the density of the areas all play into what mode of service makes the most sense.
I'm just thinking the TSET, you know, a senior program with health needs versus all around college student. You know,
It's not just college students though, you've got people who work like third shift and other things that are using it. And to the college student point, like OU is paying for those kids.
Right, so roughly 24% of the rides, because they sign up with their OU account, are OU affiliated riders. So the other percentage is theoretically general public.
And I'd say seniors and people who are in need of ADA vehicles, there's no Lyft or Uber vehicles in our metro area, or at least Norman, that can pick up disabled riders. And so on demand fills the gap there, which is another reason it's had our support continually.
And the paratransit service will still continue to serve the Embark Plus. And like I said, hopefully in the future, we'll find funding for Embark Well. In the next 2 or 3 years, if we don't, or even if we do, we'll kind of do that local planning process like we did with Go Norman Transit Plan. And maybe it suggests that we change the fixed routes or we add more microtransit during the day. Those are all things that could be recommended through that process, so. And just to finalize the microtransit or to follow up on that, council did, or we did also talk about doing an RFP in the fall for microtransit service and making sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, because we haven't renewed it, or we haven't gone out to RFP or bid in 3 or 4 years, and making sure that that provider is the best one for that, because there are other options such as an Uber pool program, and just other private companies that provide that service, so.
you know, the thought about growing your Embark Plus to include seniors related to health and wellness, I mean, that was on the table too for discussion.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that our software can handle that, because you want to make sure that your paratransit rides are being met through the regulations that we're required to meet them at. Otherwise, we get the dings and then we possibly get in trouble with the funding. But if those vehicles are bought with that purpose. Now, if you start, if you have the capacity to serve other needs, FTA usually doesn't mind as an in-kind or incidental use. But you have to be able to show that you are meeting the need of the paratransit service 100% of the time, right? So yeah, we've talked about that. They usually other communities have done that where they mix paratransit and microtransit rides or just general public rides. But again, you just need to make sure that you're able to account for the paratransit users are being met. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think you'd have a priority queue, right? You know, it's priority.
Right, and as they're coded in the system, this person's a paratransit, this one's not. Yeah, they can't be on the bus longer than 60 minutes, similar to a fixed route ride, right? And, yeah, making sure that there's room on the vehicle if they have a mobility device. If they don't, then they don't need a wheelchair position, possibly, things like that.
Councilmember Dixon?
I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but going back to this being a pilot program, I'm looking at the 5 key performance indicator measures we have. We're not meeting 4 of those. I know it does provide a good service for a few people, but I don't know. I'd just like us to look at pilot, temporary, those kind of things, and you know, is it worth it? Because right now, 4 of the 5 we're not meeting, but KPIs on, and it is expensive, and it does compete with the private market too. And so then I will put my club down and stop beating that horse.
No, I appreciate the pointing that out, and some of it is the funding available isn't enough to meet the demand, you could say, because the KPIs are a little higher than we'd like, such as walking distance or rider wait times. The maximum rider wait time is a little inflated because we originally had it set at like 30 minutes, but we wanted to meet 20 minutes. Well, late night OU wanted the students to, even if it took an hour to get to them, they wanted that proposal to be given to the student. So that's where that inflated number comes from, some of it. So yeah, I see that, and you could definitely drive down those metrics if you put more funding into the service, right? It's a levers that you pull, but we try to be conscientious of that and keep the service as cost effective as possible. But we agree that the pilot program has kind of run its course, and that's why we should go up to RFP if council would like to keep the service, and that's what seemed to be the direction that we got. So
I agree with that, and I think it needs to be put into the budget and not be, it needs to be accounted for, and not accounted for in council might approve the additional, but like, if we keep it, need to go ahead and account for it in the transit budget.
And if we have budget issues, then it could be considered as one of them that we, decrease a little bit here or there. But that's why I want to do it in the fall, because we inevitably get to a point where in the budget season, we don't include it, and then we have to go to council and we have a good discussion, but it's always a budget amendment. Whereas if we go out ahead of it, we can present the RFP results and possibly include it in the budget from the get-go.
And then right now, transit fund is not projecting a subsidy.
Correct.
From the general fund.
Unless we have a bus that, gets totaled that we have to replace, which is what happened this year.
No operating subsidy for
things
transit.
could happen, but yes, that's what it looks like,
So that's one of my main things, is definitely discussion about those services that we provide in there, but trying to make sure it stays. That's been one of my goals, is try to keep transit within the transit fund if we can.
Yeah.
And then we're not trying to subsidize services that we're iffy about whether we want to keep, or if we should do the wellness or whatever.
And as I mentioned, like in our discussions in February and April, I would love to start building a fund balance. So, in your water fund, your wastewater fund, you have sanitation fund, you have these fund balances you can lean on if something happens. Well, we don't really have that in transit because we typically spend almost to the dollar. So I know we always want to add service, and I do too, but I'd like to start building up that fund balance if possible. And then if something happens, we can lean on that, or if we need to replace a bus in general, we have that funding to lean on. So,
Councilmember Bruce and Grace.
So
I probably need to wrap it up.
there's a 600,000 estimated operation cost done through funded by grants. Might think of
no, this is all through the sales tax, the public transit sales tax.
Okay.
Because the Embark service eats up the entire grant.
But this sometimes, I don't know your world as far as grants. Sometimes you're able to have these programs, you mentioned in grants related to transportation, I have these programs, but the grant doesn't fund it. It just helps sell your program, it helps sell the program overall. Has this ever been used as, hey, we do these other things as well to help sell sell the overall transportation program in order to help get a grant for that little niche someplace within the whole program. Does that make sense? It's a supporter argument for a grant that doesn't apply.
Yeah,
Have you ever used it as a sporting item? And
I don't know that I have, but we definitely, could. We usually mention the things that we're doing that are related to the grant we're going after. So if we're trying to, like the Embark Well program, we might have put in our description what we do, like the general description, what services we provide. But the whole point is we're asking for the funding for something that we can't provide. So, I don't know if that answers your question.
I understand.
But no, we definitely in our descriptions for anything, when we're telling, the granting agency who we are, we try to include, hey, we run 5 fixed routes and paratransit service plus a microtransit service. So now as far as the details, if it helps our case, then we'll include it. But since this isn't FTA funded right now, we probably wouldn't include it in any of our FTA grant applications at the moment. Now with the RFP in the fall, we plan to completely federalize that RFP and that contract with, if we go forward and do the whole thing.
Perfect.
And continue it. And that way, if there are grants out there that we can go after, or if our grant allocation increases beyond what we can use it towards Embark, we can start shifting it over to the operations of the microtransit program.
Councilmember Grant?
Just was gonna express support for the RFP for the microtransit, and seeing best bang for buck, and then also not keeping it a pilot anymore. And I hear support from it from my constituents and people who use the on-demand, and I do think that microtransit is still part of like regional transit systems. So it's not out of place to continue to have it.
Then we're getting the lights turned off on this. But the in the Central Oklahoma Long Range Transit Plan that ACOG just completed, there are microtransit zones in Oklahoma City and Edmond, and the expansion of our own that's proposed.
Yeah.
So it is definitely a tool in the tool belt.
They had it in Salt Lake City too. So.
Because the densities don't always warrant fixed route service.
Right.
So then you just do the Uber-like service, right? And you might do it more intense than a private company would, so that way more folks can use it, right? Or provide wheelchair accessible vehicles.
Well, are they subsidized as much? Does the other community subsidize as much? I mean, that's a good comparison to have.
I mean, I assume they are. They're not gonna charge the $27 a rider, right? So it might vary. Some communities do it by the mile. It just depends on how your service operates. Some communities do it, if you travel within the zone, it's free, but if you travel from this zone to this zone, it costs this much. So there are different examples of how you could charge for it, but if you're running it through a city or a transit agency, it's probably subsidized in some way or fashion. Some transit agencies even partner with Uber or Lyft, and they'll pay a portion of that ride to subsidize the cost, but obviously that's the whole point of them partnering with them, is to try to get more rides available for people, so they subsidize the private cost.
Any questions about public transit? Okay.
We'll be
We
back
get
next
this
month.
update every month, so, and if you have any questions, constituents, or anything about public transit, Taylor's always available pretty much, so.
Thank
Okay, then if that's it, this meeting's adjourned.